Right, Jem, do your spiel.
Once more with feeling. Right. Hello everyone and welcome to the Theatre Pitch podcast. I'm Jem, this is Joe.
Hello.
And this is Sean.
Hello wonderful people.
Hello! And in this podcast we take a random online encyclopedia article. Each of us comes up with a pitch to how to turn that article into a theatre show. And then at the end of the show we try and take each of our three pitches and smush them together in true OFD fashion to try and create one coherent theatre show. And hopefully we'll be successful about it, but you guys who are listening, you guys can judge us. Judge us? You guys can judge us and tell us who you think is best and how you would have pitched for the article. So, without further ado, and more just me not being able to speak, Joe, do you want to read out the wonderful article that is the title of our show this week?
I sure do. This week's article is based around the German painter and graphic artist Otto Ekman. Born 19th of November 1865, he was a prominent member of the floral branch of the Jugendstil. He created the Ekman typeface, which was based on Japanese calligraphy, and he studied at the Kunstgewerbeschule in Hamburg and Nuremberg and the Academy in Munich. And yes, I did throw that bit in just to get to say that word.
I was about to say, I really hope you've spent most of this week not thinking about how to make this a theatre show, but just thinking about how you're going to say that word. Just practicing your pronunciation.
By the way, I think it's important to note for the people at home that Kunst is just German for art. So anytime this recurs throughout the show, we're not being very rude. We're talking about art.
We're just being multicultural in our discussion of art. Okay.
We're just a bunch of Kunst.
Art people.
Okay.
We're artists. That's what
We're
I'm saying.
artists. Also, we tell ourselves to try and get away with everything that we do.
That's what I tell myself every time someone shouts it at me in the street.
So, how do we feel about this? In the last episode, Sean and I disproved our degrees and really showed
Butchered it.
up.
That's what we done. We butchered the very concept of this idea.
Yeah. I found this better. I do think that I've come up with
Well, do you want to
an
go
idea
first
that
then?
No, because I know I've come up with an idea that it's exactly how I would approach it, and I do want to do it because I found it genuinely interesting to research this guy and his artwork and everything about this time period as well. But I know that my idea is the most theatre wankery thing that I could possibly pitch. So let's not put off the listeners straight off the bat. Who wants to go first?
I think Joe should. I went first last week, so I don't feel like I should go first this week.
Let's just get Joe out of the way so then he can make us sit here and go, oh, okay, well, now it's just going to descend into chaos.
Right, well.
That's so
I'll
mean.
I'll be honest. You're probably both sitting there expecting like, oh, Joe's either going to do something political or Joe's going to do something about the very nature of art itself. And no, I'm not going to do that because Alan Bennett already did that play and it's called The Habit of Art and you can watch it probably on the National Theatre at Home thing eventually when they show it. So instead, I'm going to focus on Otto Ekman, the man. I want to do this as very much an examination of how this is a man who created a typeface, in fact two typefaces, both of which he named after himself. Now, I'm basically basing this on, I want to do an oral history presented in play form about the creation of these typefaces. What's the point of the play, I hear you ask? It's to talk about just... I don't know whether this man was arrogant, but it's about the sheer arrogance of naming things after yourself. It is
Okay.
a play about the sheer arrogance of believing that you matter enough to name it not so in that, you know, 'cause obviously there are examples like Halley's Comet was named for Bill Haley but was not actually named by Bill Haley. There is a difference to having something named after you. That is a legacy, that is a tribute. Naming something after yourself is a grand piece of assumption that you are worthy of a legacy that you haven't earned. And that is the point of my play. Questions.
So, at this point, we're glad we didn't name this the Joe, Sean, Jem podcast.
Exactly.
Dodged a bullet. Dodged a bullet there.
Yeah.
Okay. I'd like it. How do you see this manifesting? Is it a one-man play? Is it, like, what angle are you taking on demonstrating this critique?
I see it as somewhat kind of like, in keeping with the themes of the Jugendstil, I'm thinking we have very much kind of, well, because we're going to get into this probably eventually, Jugendstil, or youth style, was an artistic movement that was formed through the decorative arts. So it's all about very kind of bold, decorative, floral images. So I see it being a stage kind of flooded with the style of the Jugendstil. And with kind of, I'm thinking a lot of youthful energy to it. We could have dance sequences. There could be a lot of anachronistic elements to it. What it is essentially is about this notion of just, it's essentially a standard, straight, kind of forward play that is about the, as I say, the sheer arrogance of naming something after yourself.
Okay.
I mean, you know, kind of, if you look on there, the other two main components of it were Herman Obrist and Henry van der Velde. Neither of them named anything after themselves. And we're not talking about them, so it technically works, but at the same time, it's just a real dick move.
Fair enough. And if anybody has looked up this article, which is just called Otto Ekman, you'll see that he also has a very arrogant mustache. So
he does have an arrogant mustache.
And he's holding a single flower that isn't even a rose or something. He's also, it looks like he's got a stuffed toy in his pocket as well. So, yeah, okay. Interesting fella.
Yeah. I also, just if any of the relatives of Mr. Eckman are here, I'm sorry if he was actually a lovely man. This is more based on the notion of him. We can change the names before production begins.
That which we can deduce from his actions.
Yeah.
Sean, have you got any questions for Joe?
Okay, Sean, I know what you're going to ask. And yes, the play does also spend a lot of time in that the second of his two fonts came out shortly before his death. A large portion of the play is a graphic depiction of death by tuberculosis.
No, that's not that. That weren't my question. It was if you created a typeface, what would you call it? Because I don't think it's arrogant that if I invented something, right, unless I was going to make like a really clever pun or like a really cool like reference to something like in Back to the Future, I would definitely name it after myself. It'd be like the Brady font. It would definitely be called that. Okay.
Sean has got a point.
That's not arrogance. Sean? That's like, what else am I going to call it? I done that. That's me. Thank you.
Sorry. Do you think Arnold Comic Sans was the man who invented it? No. There's not Sheila Papyrus and Leonard Futura out there.
True, but they probably created many typeface.
Funnily enough, Ariel was not invented by the Little Mermaid. None of the rest of them.
All right, I'm just saying that I don't think it's arrogant to name something after yourself.
Joe, if you discovered a star or if you discovered a planet, would you not be tempted to name it after yourself in any kind of way, even if it's a nickname?
No, I know exactly what I'd call a planet or a star if I ever found it. In tribute to Uranus, I'd call it my butt. Obviously.
I like the way we're trying to use logic on the entity that is Joe. We're trying to use
You're assuming I haven't already thought about these
Definitely
things.
thought about that.
No, we know you've thought about these. We know you well enough.
I'm going to go
Okay.
onto No Man's Sky, and I'm just going to come across a planet called My Butt, and I'll be like, it's Joe's place!
It's Joe's planet. Okay, so Joe with My Butt, your story is about the arrogance of naming things after yourself. Alright, okay. Sean, it's down to you and me as to who's gonna go next, as well as who's gonna try and repent from last week.
I'll do it. I'm going to do it this week. I'm confident.
Okay.
Right.
All
So
right.
mine it's a romantic comedy.
Okay.
Who saw that one coming? Right.
Nope.
Okay. So I've based this on a lot of his artwork, and in his artwork you'll see that there's in like a number of them there's a tall, pale brunette.
Okay.
Yep. And then his other artworks are really nice, like nature patterns, or like animals in water. You know, like sort of like
Yeah.
nice places where you'd have like a park or something. Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So keep that in your mind.
Yeah.
So it's not based on him, but it's based on elements of his life, and the main elements I'm focusing on the fact that he was a painter, and then he stopped doing that, then became like a graphic designer. Basically, got like a proper job sort of thing, to pay the bills. So my character, it's not him, but it's roughly based on his life. He's a graphic designer for a magazine. Yep. In Act 1, we established that he's got this talent of like drawing, and he's a really good artist. Yeah. But in Act 1, we really established that he's lost all motivation, all inspiration for it. It could be something dramatic happens, like his family dies in a horrible car accident, something like that.
Brilliant.
Something
I think
morbid.
your tip for next week is also keeping it light.
Something morbid, but like off stage. He loses that. He's like gets like this job. He just uses his talent for just a job. Yeah, we really established that in Act 1, that he's got the talent, he's got the skill, and he's just sort of half-arsing it, using it to just like pay the bills, buy some cans at the weekend, pay for his Netflix.
Yeah.
Act 2, right, he has a chance encounter with a tall, pale brunette.
Yeah.
And like they hit it off, blah blah blah, and they have a bit of encounter. They exchange numbers. You know what the kids do these days. They say, "Oh, are you on the gram? I'm on the gram. Oh, I'll follow you." I don't know what to do, but something like that. Like, oh, let me follow you on TikTok.
I've never felt so
TikTok
old
or
in my
TikTok,
life.
something like that. That's what it is. And then he goes into work the next day, and then he draws this like really fantastic, really beautiful cover, and it's of Otto's. I'm going to use Otto's artwork, so it's one of his one of his pictures of this woman, and that's how it is. They keep having dates.
Yeah.
And she slowly becomes he finally finds that inspiration again. So like one of Otto's artworks is like a really nice, really simple, but it's like a lake and it's like some swans. So that could be like, basically in every one of these dates we're going to try and recreate one of Otto's pieces of art. And in the story, that day is his inspiration to draw again, and that's what it is. There can be some I don't know. You know what normally happens in a romantic comedy. There's like someone says something, there's a misunderstanding, and then like end of Act 2, they're like, oh, will they, won't they? And then, like,
Yeah.
she says she's going to go back to America, and he goes, oh, okay. And then he realises that she's the spark in his life. She's the inspiration. Then he's going to race across London in a Volvo with 5 of his friends. And then they're going to get to the press conference before she leaves for America. And then,
Why do I feel
no one
like
gets
you're ripping the end
no,
off of
come
somebody
on.
else?
Oh, I just ripped off Notting Hill. Come on, guys. It's a very Richard Curtis sort of feel to the. So that's my idea. I haven't figured out what the conflict will be, but that's the idea that it's Otto's. He was a painter and then he became a graphic designer. That's my character. And the person that Otto kept drawing in my story, that's the inspiration for my character to really find the love for being a painter again. Yeah. And like it's gonna be in like a really cool, like traditional theatre, like proscenium arch. So even the proscenium arch is like a picture frame. But the key aspect to it is we're gonna recreate the image of his paintings within the scenes, and then that recreation in the plot is the inspiration for my character.
I
Whoa!
like it.
It's so much better than last week.
You have upped your
my
game.
one question would be, Sean, with you kind of taking a lot of inspiration from that Richard Curtis style, why do you think this your interpretation here works better as a play than as a film?
Well, it's gonna start off as a play, and then obviously Miramax are gonna come in and throw some of that Hugh Grant money at me. That's what it is. Or who's the Hugh Grant of today? I don't like.
I think it's still Hugh Grant after Paddington 2.
Or Ryan Gosling.
No, it's got to be. It's got to be if it's a proper rom-com, it's got to be a bumbling British person.
Yeah. I don't know. We'll have to discover them. Otherwise, it's Daniel Radcliffe.
I think in that he's German pater, we should just hire the obvious man to do it. The only man who can also.
Christoph Waltz. Jurgen Klopp. Oh my God, yes.
No.
Imagine him acting. I would watch that all day.
We're just shouting Jurgen Klopp at each other again now. That will be this will be the show that goes on to the West End and onto Broadway, and then some first year or third year uni student studying drama is going to come see it and have like, oh, I'm going to be inspired by it, and the thing that they create inspired by your beautiful rom-com, Sean, is just going to be 3 people screaming Jurgen Klopp at each other.
And that's the one that wins the Olivier, not us.
Yeah.
This is how it works with theatres. You've always got to slightly consider what a GCSE student will do as
Gemma,
being inspired by your work. Yeah?
do you know who Jurgen Klopp is?
No.
He's the Liverpool manager.
I was about to say, I've got a feeling he's attached to football in some way.
Yeah.
We're not going to tell you anything else about him because you never know. He might be the random article this week.
Oh my
True.
God.
Oh. I mean, it will just be the Sean Brady podcast next week, and then we'll prove Joe's point, and the whole podcast will get really meta.
Imagine that biopic.
Okay, all right. Any other questions?
I am just going to take this time to pitch to you. It's a new play. It's basically...
Can't have another go.
It's an adaptation of Ridley Scott's movie The Duelists, but it stars Jurgen Klopp and Jose Mourinho. End of pitch.
Okay, right. Let's move on before this becomes top trumps of the pitching plays. So I like it. I think we're going to have quite a fun time smishing all of these together. But I'm going to, before we do that, I'm going to pitch something that is going to make Joe and Sean grown in of course, Jem's pitching that. So I really, really got into reading about this, and it reminded me of a show I did a few years ago that recently I've been sort of running down memory lane with. And I kind of got very inspired by that, and that piece was called An Imagined Solitude, and it was inspired by the work of Edward Hopper. So there's a lot of...
Oh, thank God. I thought he was going to say... I thought he was going to say that other show.
Yeah, no, not the other show. The other show can be quiet and not be ever mentioned again. But An Imagined Solitude is something I'm quite proud of, and it was inspired by the work of Edward Hopper, and it made me think, you know what, that was a really fun process that produced a really fun show. So my pitch is that I want to gather a group of up to 12 performers, and I want to create a devised piece inspired by the work, life and times of Otto Ekman, but exploring the themes of, and I really want this to underpin the thought process behind the devising, this idea that you can be an artist and train to be an artist, but then when you grow older, it's okay to then choose to go into what would arguably be a more corporate setting to monetize your work. Because a lot of people sit there and go, oh, if you're an artist, you must be starving and you must never sell out. Whereas I've been thinking recently a lot about how, you know, that artists deserve to be paid, and monetizing your art is not bad, and adapting your skills into something that is neater and more sellable, as it were, that's perfectly fine, so long as you're still feeling that you're expressing yourself and your thoughts are expressed through that as well. So kind of an examination of the idea of selling out and the idea of stopping chasing that romanticized dream of being an artist and being a modern day artist, being somebody who goes, I have rent to pay, especially if you're in London, it's quite high, and food and all of those things, it's all, you know. But I want it to be a devised piece, and I want to run the performers through lots of exercises about how they feel about the idea of selling out and what their experiences are, and visually, very, very much, I'm thinking a physical theatre piece, quite, you know, physical theatre with spoken word. Sean's nodding his head at me like, oh, of course, there it is, there's the physical theatre. But very much working with the body and working with text to explore the themes of selling out, but then visually having a big inspiration from his work, both the calligraphy as well as the art, playing with the transformation of that, but also having the presence of that kind of artwork around. So, but as part of that 12-man team to devise with, I do want to, my favorite things about devising is you can actually work hand in hand with any of the designers to say, you may not be performing, but let's create this together so it works in quite a close-knit, like, what's the word I'm looking for? Not a syndicate. Mixed, tied in, intricate way. The thing that people call venom. But yeah, that's kind of my pitch, and I'd be very interested to see how people respond to the idea of artists. I think I'd also be interested to see how many people have a breakdown because of working on the project. But yeah, it's a devised physical theatre and spoken word piece that's very, very beautiful and transposes artwork into the art of theatre. There you go. I told you it was going to be like much better than last week, but also definitely an art wank piece.
So the moral of the story is it's good to sell out.
I think it's less than. I think that really comes down to the people who I'm working with, which is kind of the shortcut way of saying I don't know.
You know what you could do? You know, at the end, it's free to get in, right? And it's a show.
But it's not free to leave. Okay,
It's a
so all the
show,
proceeds
and
today
it's
are...
clearly a show about how artists should be paid for their art, and at the end you make it very clear there's a bucket at the back when you're leaving.
Yeah, it's free to get in, but it's not free to get out. Hello, everybody who's ever
all
done
of
the free fringe.
jokes. Ah.
Okay,
If there was
so
a show
you can just,
that is
at the
perfect
back,
for...
you can just put in some coins, but notes are more fun to put in. They don't make as much noise, and we do have a card machine. We accept check, we accept banker's draft, all the jokes.
yeah, you know.
I have been to more than one free fringe show, and they all have the same spiel. Get new spiel for next year, please. You've got.
You've done
to
that
work on
joke.
this, Edinburgh.
You have done that joke.
A year.
We have all done that joke. We are all guilty of this, and Joe has just made everybody who listens to this podcast, who then comes to our show, very, very open about just shouting at us and not paying us because we may have presented the most epic thing ever. But if Joe is giving the same spiel as everyone else, you're going to make us not get paid, Joe.
Oh my god, I
Anarchy.
just realised now why in that show that we're like working on, your character at the end leaves. It's so you don't have to do that speech.
Yeah, you've got this out, finally. So,
Brilliant.
Jem,
Yes.
I like the idea of exploring the notions of payment within art, because also it brings into it the fact that most artists are self-employed and therefore not represented by a full union.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Y'all had to see that one coming.
Yeah.
But I do have to ask, of course, why do you just not want writers to get paid? Why are you devising it?
No. Okay, alright. I'm going to settle this argument once and for all, because this is an argument I've had for nearly a decade with my father, who is a writer, who is like, oh, devising work is absolutely atrocious, and blah, 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 blah. And no. Right, the best way to devise, just to end it all and to have me have a little bit of a rant, because finally Jem's broken it with devising, right? You take everybody who's involved, you devise bits and processes, you get the creativity, and you take all of that work that you've created, and then you hand it to somebody, or a couple of people who are writers, who are structurally minded. They then take that, structure it, turn it into a script, so then you have a beginning, middle, end. You have something that delivers on the experience that an audience expects, and also means that it's not just, oh, here's somebody shouting Jurgen Klopp at another person for 45 minutes. You give it to a writer to give it that structure and that deeper meaning, then you go back into rehearsals, and you can add in another element of workshopping it to push it further. But I think working hand in hand, if you're writing, that's great. You can create things that are amazing, but you cannot create what you can create in a room where you're working with the designers, with the performers, with everybody's specific skill sets. You can create something that's far richer than if you're just typing, they do a dance, because you have not yet created that dance, and that dance has not inspired you. So it's this collaborative effort between a writer with a script and a laptop and a pen and paper, as well as people who work not in that medium, but fundamentally work in the medium with which the story and the writing will be delivered, therefore creating an overarching, more rich experience and a richer thing. So, Dad, shush. I know better. And within the process, and this is, I'm saying this as a deviser, a performer, and also a writer. So I champion all this. Joe, you set me off.
Yeah, but Jem,
Yes.
if you're having the actors devising it all within the studio, why do you also hate choreographers and not want them to get paid?
You can have a choreographer in there, and fundamentally, physical theatre is, again, it's the same thing. It's the choreographer works as a writer, works as a structuralist that works with the raw things that you create in the studio. But I can tell you now, some of the best pieces of theatre I've ever seen have started with a devising process. And most of them have taken that devising process and put it through a writing process in order to make it not just be brain splush on a rigged stage. But, Joe, you're poking the beast, man.
Yeah, if you haven't worked out by now that I'm deliberately doing this because I want to see how far down this hole goes.
So is that your idea, Gemma?
Yes, my idea is a devised piece that includes physical theatre as well as text, Joe. Text needs to be written. But it's a devised piece that's all about the idea of this idea of selling out and what actually that means in a further examination, other than, oh no, like, never sell out because then money helps everyone. So please send us some cash if you're listening this far. That's not why I pitched this idea. I genuinely liked this idea. Any other questions?
Well, I can't really ask you questions because it's a devised piece, so there's no really answers yet.
But I'm directing it, so I can at least say yes or no.
Who are the 12 people?
Not
it's me. It's my friend.
Yeah.
So you've decided it's at most 12 people. Is this anything to do with either the months in the year or a jury?
No, it's just 12 felt best. Because devising is all about going with what feels best and then handing it to a writer or a structuralist who will correct you and suggest something that makes far more logical sense.
Okay.
Next question. Who's out there calling themselves a structuralist?
I don't know, but I think I might add it to my CV now.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is my last episode of the podcast.
You threatened that last week, didn't you?
I probably threatened it every week.
So this may or may not be Joe's final podcast. Alright, so far we've had Joe pitching an examination of the arrogance of a straight play that is all about the arrogance of naming stuff after yourself, but it's very, very youthful, and it's all about Otto Ekman, the man.
Gemma, do you take notes?
Yeah, I take notes every podcast.
Oh. I just realised she was reading.
No, every single podcast I take notes. I'm not Rain Man. I wish I was Rain Man. But
sorry.
No.
That's so cool. That's so professional.
I feel very proud of myself that you've not noticed so far. I've gotten this far, and clearly
it's because I'm too busy
delivery
just looking at myself. That's what it is.
Okay, well, Sean's pitched a romantic comedy about the journey of somebody inspired by Otto Ekman, who was an artist but turned to graphic design as a way to keep themselves afloat. But then, by a chance encounter with a tall, pale brunette, is inspired to get back into artistry. And throughout the show, we recreate the paintings and the artwork of Otto Ekman to one day end just like a movie. And he will chase her if she leaves, which I now realise is a far creepier sentence.
That last bit was a Notting Hill reference. I haven't figured out how it's going to end yet. I haven't figured out which Richard Curtis film I'm going to rob from.
But yes, Sean's show is in a Proscenium Arch Theatre because Proscenium Arch looks like a picture frame. Joe, I think yours is just a straight play is all that you mentioned structure-wise. And then my pitch was a devised physical theatre and text-based performance all about the idea of selling out and the performers' experiences and explanations around that. See, I can put a really long-winded, pretentious...
Yeah, great. You've done a really good job there explaining yourself.
Yeah.
See, I can do sentences sometimes.
Yeah.
Good.
I can do sentences that are short and stuff.
Oh, I've just froze. My internet just my internet just put me in my place there.
Thank you, internet gods. Okay, so those are the three pitches that we've come up with individually, but now we are going to attempt to smush them. I think it's going to turn out well because I think they all kind of align. So we need to go through the tick boxes. You just said
you think they kind of align.
Yeah, I can see lots of links between all three.
Well, I feel like all of us pitched a basically standard Proscenium Arch show in a way of setting. So we've got that.
Yeah.
At least that's one of our criteria sorted.
Okay. Yeah, so the stage is a proscenium arch, yeah.
And
We
within
do that a lot.
It's a black stage with metal scaffolding.
I agree with the black stage bit.
No, I don't.
No, I also don't actually agree with that. I've been very clear that I want the stage full of fucking flowers and shit.
No, I think it's a black, because I see a black box, but I think that's just because I love black boxes and I hate proscenium arch theatres. But that is a whole different rant that we'll get Jem on a later podcast on.
I'm sorry, if you look up the Jugendstil movement, it has a lot in line of it with the Art Nouveau. We want opulent, we want grand, we want colours everywhere.
Gold frames.
Yes. Gold. We want enough gold that Klimt is going to literally come back from the dead just to say, I have nothing else to offer you and die again.
I actually agree with that. I do agree that that it's a very opulent, very artistic stage and set structure. So, yeah, I'm just going to say opulent and leave it to the devised...
Opulent is the code word of the day.
Opulent. There you go. That's the word of the day. So let's roll it back to the first sort of category that we have to fill out in the form that creates theatre, because we like to make everything a little bit boring.
No. You like to make it a bit boring. It's your form.
I like forms. Okay, they structure everything. They're good for communication. I'm such a nerd. Yep. Okay.
You rock on with your Excel.
I hate Excel. Access is far better for database keeping and data entry.
I think you're on about Google Sheets.
No, that's horrible. I'm not. Don't get me started on Google Sheets.
So theatre.
So theatre.
Oh yeah, this isn't a podcast about spreadsheets.
It's not a podcast about spreadsheets or organisation or stationery. Not yet. I laugh if that's the next article that comes up. But anyway, story-wise, that's the one thing that we are quite differing on, is what's the story, what's the point? We've got the arrogance of naming things after yourself. We've got a romantic comedy, and then we've got a devised piece about selling out.
Okay. So could we stick with my story, but we find out that the tall brunette invented something and named it after herself?
I've got it. I've worked out how we unite them.
Go on then.
Okay.
Are both of you familiar with the 90s classic You've Got Mail?
Yeah, of course.
What if the girl in question is a real free spirit who at the beginning of the play, she hates Eckmann because he's sold out?
Okay.
Ooh!
And so we've got this divide between, we've got the notion of romance within art and also within art and commerce interplaying alongside the actual romance between... She starts off being like, oh, why would I want to hang out with you, Eckmann? You're sold out, you sell out. And then throughout the course of it, he has his joie de vivre brought in it back and he begins to create more beautiful artwork that doesn't have the corporate edge to it anymore. And she starts to see that there is some merit in actually getting paid for what you do.
I like it. They embody, as their characters, they embody the argument of selling out and not selling out. I like it. Yeah. Ooh, okay. Alright. And the style.
That's why we have you around, Joe. Because he's a writer. Yeah. We devise something and then Joe writes it.
I'm kind of something of a structuralist. Oh, I hate myself.
There you go. We're developing our CVs through this podcast.
Now I know why Sean drinks.
It's because you guys have to deal with me and my, spreadsheets. Alright, so the story is Sean's story, but each character, the two characters embody the selling out idea as well as, the arrogance of naming something after yourself. I think that could be tied into her argument against him, is that if he's gone and named something after himself as well, that's just the most corporate thing that you can do, right?
Yeah.
It's not naming something after your mother, which is quite
the magazine. The magazine he draws the covers for. It's his magazine, and he's named it after himself.
Oh,
what if
there
we
you
change
go.
it so that in this version it's like, because there's the two fonts. What if we change it so it becomes clear that the second font that he named Fet Eckman actually, it turns out that was named after they get married, and so he named the second one after his wife.
Twist!
He named it after his wife.
Who took his
Who
name?
is
Yes, I
named
know.
after
It brings
him.
in so many other patriarchal issues.
That's just arrogant without the balls to be arrogant.
Yeah, that's arrogant and
Apologetic.
patriarchy. So worse.
Brilliant. We're gonna go with that
It's
because
like
it's gonna.
most 90s rom-coms. It's sweet till you think about it.
Yeah, it's sweet until you read the GCSE art essay about that analyzes it, and you get one kid who's clearly gonna go on to annoy a lot of people who just rants at. Wait, hold on, that feels like it's the article that I would put forward. All right, anyway, moving on. Okay, so
I thought Gemma was
style-wise-
just about to ruin Love Actually for us both then.
Oh, she doesn't need to ruin Love Actually for him. I don't like it.
Ooh.
Oh.
Controversial.
It's
Look
like
at this.
7 or
No,
8
we don't
bad
need him.
films.
We don't need him to start. Oh, whoa.
No.
Whoa.
No. Let's. Okay. So
Hugh
this-
Grant
so-
is brilliant in that.
the style that bringing it back before we
Theatre.
all go on a rant. Theatre. The style of the show. So we've got a devised show with lots of physical theatre and sort of abstract text. We've got a straight play, and then we've got, I'm guessing, a straight play from Sean as well. I don't want to be beat out just by a vote.
No, I think it should be, the story should be a straight play. But when we recreate the images, that's when your arty-farty stuff can come in.
Moments of dance and moments of beauty. I like it.
Yeah,
I
we can have the play and then the art bollocks. Yeah.
Play art bollocks. Shuffle it like a deck. Okay, I like that. I like the way I'm also not writing any of this down.
I don't think you
Which
have
is
to write
fantastic.
down art
Listen,
bollocks, Gemma. I don't think you need that bit.
I am. No, I like the way Sean mentions I'm taking notes, and that automatically turns off the taking notes thing that I was doing. Okay, so
I'm just imagining now that your notes are just you've written art bollocks in big letters over a single sheet of A4.
No, it's shorthand, isn't it? It's just AB.
I mean, I'd
It's
go
not
and say
over the
that's
whole
not what
sheet.
shorthand is, but I won't.
Okay, so I'm just drawing a fat
Come on,
arrow
Gem.
from
Come
story.
on. You've got this. Present.
The cast.
Come on.
Is it
Come on.
the cast? Is it just 2 people? Is it 12?
I mean, it's
Well,
I think it's 2 people. I think
well,
it
we
goes down
need
to
at
2
least
people.
the 2 main
Yeah.
characters, each of their best friends. There has to be like one romantic rival normally.
yes. And then there has to be
Yes.
a lovable housemate who is just like the comic relief, and he has
Yeah.
to be Welsh.
So 6, and he always adds the final touches to the paintings that make them amazing.
No.
Also,
no.
I think at one
Oh, I
point
like
we
that.
need to introduce one of their parents who seems to have a more serious story going on that is never revisited.
And he has to be played by what's his name? Bill Knightley.
Bill
Bill
Nye.
Nye.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay,
Something like that.
So it's a cast. I'm going to say a cast of 6 because I feel like there are 7 characters there, but one of them has to be dual cast because theatre. Probably Bill Nighy because he's amazing. Shout out to Bill Nighy. And then Jurgen Klopp is going to be in it as well. Probably as that housemate because that's all we can trust him.
I
Oh
think you
my
mean as Eckman.
god! Imagine having Jurgen Klopp as your housemate. It'd be the best.
All right.
Is,
Are there
is
any
this
other
basically Sean's dream casting? So Jurgen Klopp is my best friend, my dad's Bill Nye, and
I'd have Andy Robinson as the lead, obviously. Look at you.
and the
Not a
entire
clue.
and
Not
the
a clue.
entire cast of the Avengers wake me up each morning and say, "Hey, good job, Sean."
Yeah.
And he gets to end it whilst being a Power Ranger.
With like a little Power Ranger helmet going to bed.
Yeah, little puts the Power Ranger helmet on and blackout.
I'm sorry, are we still talking about... What are we on about now? We still talking about the
We
show?
are not going to do this. We are not doing this in any of this beautiful play that we're creating about a wonderful man who made art and then made some typeface.
Yeah, Joe, be serious.
Are there any other needs for the show? Other than a lot
the
of
programme has to be all in that typeface.
Yes, the program all in that typeface. That's a nice touch. Fantastic.
If you go on to the online encyclopedia page for Jugendstil, you can see a really lovely maple wood armchair built by Eckmann, and I'd quite like that.
Oh,
so if there's room in the budget for that armchair.
Okay. All right. I think we've got a good show.
I was expecting you to say something really stupid then, but it weren't.
No,
it's a really nice chair, and I'd like the chair.
I think the audience at this point, everybody listening, is starting to understand that Sean and my life, it really is just when Joe goes, "I've got an idea." It's just holding your breath and
it's
really
the pause.
not knowing what's going to come
next. It's the
next.
pause that's scary.
Yeah, it's the pause that's like, okay, does raising my heartbeat like this count? All right, I think we've got a show. So, I'm going to end it there. Unless either of you have any massive points other than any point about Jurgen Klopp to make. No?
Gemma,
Fantastic.
you don't end a podcast. How many times do we have to say this? You can't just say, I'm going to end it there.
I do a summary of the show so that anybody listening now is like, wait, where does the Power Rangers come into it? The Power Rangers don't come into this show. So this show is what's it called?
I don't know.
Otto?
The Power Rangers don't come into this show. There we go.
Yeah. Well, this show, which will be later named, is inspired by Otto Ekman. It is a romantic comedy about a young artist who has turned to the dark side and become a graphic artist in order to pay the bills, but he just by chance discovers a woman who knows of him, who almost despises him because of his selling out nature. And together through their actions and their beliefs, they discuss the idea of selling out, but they ultimately fall deeply in love. And whilst they do, they recreate the paintings and the artwork of Otto Ekman, and they examine this idea of what it means to be an artist, what it means to sell out, and at the end, after they've married, what it is to be arrogant enough to name something after yourself, but are you actually naming it after your wife? It is performed in a proscenium arch theatre with a set made up of lots of opulent artwork, lots of gold, lots of things that represent the Art Deco age in which Otto Ekman came from. It's very much the style of a straight play, but anytime we start to recreate the art, we bring in the art bollocks and we make it art and physical theatre and dance. We make it beautiful so that in and of itself as well represents the contrast between straight, money-making, easy-to-follow corporate stuff as well as art wank and following your artistry and going for things like that. It's a cast of 6 people playing 7 characters, hopefully featuring Bill Nighy as well as Jurgen Klopp. And little other tidbits is the armchair that Eckman built is also part of a scene or the set indeed of itself. It depends. Some of this will be written, some of it will be devised, and the program will feature the typefaces created by Otto Ekman himself. And that is the pitch for
You've
Otto
got
Ekman.
artwork. That's what it's going to be called.
I was going to go for Leber Lache Liebe, which is the German for Live, Laugh, Love.
Jim.
Yep, okay. So the title of the show is Joe.
Oh,
I'm
Otto
gonna-
Ekman, Leber Lache Liebe.
There you go. So I'm going to hand over. Who's picking the next one for next week? Is
Joe.
it Joe?
That would be me.
Right,
So,
I'm going to hand over to Joe. What are we doing next week?
So, while the online encyclopedia just rumbles through its random section to give us next week's article, I want you all to just take a moment out of your day, go to Facebook, go to Twitter, and search for OFITD. And if you're on Instagram, look for OFITD_arts. And just give us a follow, give us a like, whichever one's appropriate for that various platform.
Harass us if you feel like it.
Yeah. And if you want to find Sean online, you can find him at...
Still Shawnee B. Yep, that's... Oh, no, I'm not going to spell it. No. I was going to do a joke, but no. Yeah, just... I'm there. I usually just... I've been posting a lot about my hair lately. I'm wearing hats.
It's looking good.
Oh, well, thanks. And Roller Coaster Tycoon, too. I've been deep into that.
The important subject.
Obviously.
And Jem, where can we find you?
You can find me at OFITD_Gem with a J, because I like to be different.
And if you want to find me, you can find me at Not Joe Rancher on Twitter. That's NOTJOERACZKA. And with that,
that's my favourite
both
bit of
ready?
the podcast. When he smells it out.
1 week I'm going to get it wrong and be really annoyed.
But I won't
great,
notice because I'm too busy going with the river.
I can't wait for somebody to do a remix of all the times Joe has spelled out his handle, and it's just the Joe handle remix. I can't wait
please,
for the dubstep
someone
on it.
do this. Please. But would you two like to know, and would the people at home like to know, what next week's article we're going to be adapting is?
I can hear him shout, yes, yes, Joe.
Yes, yes.
Life entity. The life entity is a fictional creature, the physical embodiment of all life within the DC universe. Long ago, starting all life from the planet Earth, it went on to create 7 entities of the emotional electromagnetic spectrum, and was hidden in a dimensional tear within the Earth by the Guardians of the Universe when they discovered its existence, in order to preserve it from exploitation and possible harm. First appearance, issue 7 of Blackest Night.
I've got it there. It's the it's the White Lanterns, isn't it? It's the...
Okay,
Yep.
we're gonna have to create shows that don't mean that we get sued for copyright.
No, Gemma, you've got to embrace the comic book stuff. You got to. It's doable. There was a Spider-Man musical, and I heard that was a success.
Yeah.
Let's save this and all discussion of Spider-Man Turn Off the Dark for next week's podcast.
Okay, fantastic. That's going to be a fun podcast. Let's try and not just do recreation of it. All right, fantastic. So, that's next week. This week has been Otto Ekman. Joe, finish the title, please.
Oh, Otto Ekman, Labour like a Lieber.
Brilliant. Fantastic. If you guys listening at home, thank you so much for listening. Well done for getting this far. And if you liked any one of our individual pitches, or if you preferred the big smushy pitch, let us know. If you've got a better pitch that you think is better, let us know as well. And maybe if it's impressive enough, or if you hound us enough, we'll have you on the show. But until then, like, comment, and subscribe. Do all the things. We don't need to tell you. It's the modern day. We all know what we need to do in order to make sure you don't miss an episode. But until the next one, which is going to be really fun, I've been Jem, this has been Sean and Joe, and thank you, and bye!
Goodbye, wonderful
Bye.
people! Bye-bye!
Bye, wonderful people! Bye!